Well, welcome back or welcome to Ted and Yogi's Pac-12 Adventure with Ted Robinson and Yogi Roth, of course, joined by Michael Molinari. And it is Tuesday. It is Tuesday evening of the 2nd of November. And you know what that means? The first CFP ranking has come out. The Oregon Ducks are ranked number 4. The lone Pac-12 team ranked in the initial rankings, but there's a lot of storylines to dive into. Of course, we're presented by our friends at SportsBook. I don't know how many people would have bet on Oregon being top 4 ahead of Ohio State or Cincinnati. Fellas, I'd love your initial reactions, and I'm obviously going to give mine as we dive into this bad boy.
Win for college football. Games matter. Period. Games matter. And the other thing that surprised me when I didn't watch the whole thing, I just skimmed it, and I saw that I didn't realize there was such a difference in strength of schedule ranking between Oregon and Oregon State. That jumped out at me. But as long as that head-to-head, and I told you my 1993 scar, but I'm saying and I think you guys would agree with this. If somehow Ohio State and Oregon both end up as a one-loss team and Oregon and Ohio State is ranked ahead, then why would anybody play those kind of games in September? Why? And then college football loses. So that's where, to me, it's a victory.
Oregon reaping the reward of going and playing that game. And actually both of them, to Ohio State's credit, they were supposed to play the previous year, but that got canceled. So both teams, congratulations. Right now, Oregon reaping the benefit. And we're reaping the benefit of a podcast after dark, by the way. So thank you, CFP, for releasing late so we could do podcast after dark.
We have about as many people in the stands as they did at Stanford the other night, by the way.
Yes.
All right, Yog. Fire away.
All right. So with that said, I got a little bit of a rant here, but in a good way, around the playoff. This playoff's been going on for a long time. And what they haven't changed is the description of what their criteria is. I'll read off the 4 main elements: championships won, strength of schedule, head-to-head, comparative outcome of common opponents. So they use those 4 elements when something's close. I believe, covering this thing since it started along with you guys, that it's been hit or miss in terms of when to use those elements, when not to. So I'll let go Ted, who's much better at economy of words than I am. Major win for college football. Here's why. We walked into the season with Oregon as an overwhelming favorite by the media to win the Pac-12 conference. We walked into the season with anybody east of the Rockies, west of the Rockies, south of the whatever, like all across college football, Oregon was a team. You could say whatever you want about the Pac-12, but from Feinbaum around the country, it was, yeah, Oregon's a real team. So to me, I'm glad that it wasn't like a shock. Like, oh my gosh, the Ducks in the Pac-12. Like, no, this team is loaded. With that said, some facts. They beat Ohio State on the road for the first time since anyone's gone to Ohio State and won on the road since 2017. Reminder, the game, and Ted knows this better than anybody, the game was at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, different for their body clock. They were without many starters, most notably the number 1 draft pick, we all presume, in Kayvon Thibodeau. Pause. Move on to their loss, because now we're going to talk about the Stanford game. Joe Moorhead eliminated due to an illness the morning of the game. I believe that offensive coordinators were 3 decisions. There's at least 1 decision, let alone 2 or 3. If he helps make, I think they win that game. They also benefited from an untimed down and a penalty that will go down in infamy of if you think it is or is not defensive holding. They also lost C.J. Verdell in that game and Kayvon Thibodeau on the final 11-page play drive where Stanford ended up tying the ball game. In addition, when they played Cal the next week, Joe Moorhead created the game plan, but was not with the team all week long. I found that out last week as I was part of the crew at the Pac-12 conference that presents to the committee. So we learned of that, and that was a big moment, an element to present because Oregon didn't look great in that game. The play call around them all week. So I say all that because I believe, to Ted's point of college football getting a win, so the committee looked at it and said, those are some facts. Those are some real things. Their all-conference center hasn't played the last couple games. They anticipated him playing the last 2 games. He hasn't done it. They've lost multiple players, and this team is getting stronger, and they have the best win in the country, in my opinion, this year based on having to go on the road versus A&M winning the game against Alabama at home. Even Cincinnati over Notre Dame, I still think that Oregon going to Ohio State is a better win. Maybe not by much, but I still think it is. So with that said, I'm not blown away that Oregon's ranked where they are. I think when you sit back objectively, even working at the Pac-12, you say, yeah, when I hear all those things, it makes sense to me. And then you add in the eye test and how they played the last couple of weeks. So I'm happy where they are. And I think it's great for the league, obviously, where they're positioned with the teams that are behind them, knowing what everybody has over the last month of the season.
At least for a week, it's confirmation that that win for Oregon at Ohio State was the most important football win for the Pac-12 conference in years. And, as I've been very blunt before, you have to own your results. And the rest of the results in this conference this year were just not very good, sadly. And it's cost. And when you see the other teams that are in the top 25 of the CFP ranking, teams like Fresno State, San Diego State, two Mountain West teams in, only one Pac team, BYU in, which is 4-0 against the Pac. So you can't ignore that. You just can't. You have to own it. But for Oregon to get the cred for that win over Ohio State is massive. And now I'm going to say, because I think I've been as vocal as any of us about lack of national respect for the Pac, that if I'm sitting in Norman, Oklahoma right now, if I'm sitting in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and if I'm really sitting in Cincinnati, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. And that's going to be the challenge. Chris Peterson, who was on the Fox halftime this past Saturday, made a great point about Cincinnati. He said Cincinnati needs to be ranked second when this first poll came out, because there'll be some one-loss teams that we already know the Alabama rule. Alabama has to lose 3 times to be eliminated. That was proven again. They're second, right? They're second in the poll. It doesn't matter. They can lose again and they'll still make it. So that's going to be 2 spots, Georgia and Alabama. So everybody else we're talking about is fighting, in my personal view, for 2 spots. These other undefeated teams, I mean, if you have Wake Forest, and I understand people go Wake Forest, it's Power 5 league. If they run the table, are they going to get left out from a Power 5 league? Because you know what we'd be saying if it was a Pac-12 school that was in that spot.
I think you said it perfectly, Ted. And I think, again, you're making the argument for 8 or 12, but we'll leave that for where it may. Yogi, a positive rant. Only you're capable of that. So I'm very impressed with that.
Notice Yogi, he didn't say I was capable.
No, we skipped that. But hats off to you, Yogi, Merton Hanks, and the Pac-12 presenting the case, because it looks like you guys made a difference. And I think Oregon deserves to be there, but I think they needed somebody to make their case, and it appeared you guys did a pretty good job of that. So hats off to you guys too.
And I do and exactly. I'll second that, Yogi. Bravo to you and to the entire group. And I do have to believe that the way Oregon played Saturday helped, because it's sadly, we're back to an era that I thought we were done with in college football, where scores do matter. And I can't stand it. I don't think it's good for college football, but I believe it's impactful. And Oregon played a team they should beat, and they beat them pretty soundly. And I just watched the first half of the game, and it was a mismatch. That's a good thing for Oregon CFP presentation.
Style points.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Like this committee, it's 1 week, but I'm really a fan of how they've evaluated. And I get like how undefeated teams are frustrated in that regard. And I'm with you. If we were Wake Forest or Oklahoma, we'd be going crazy right now, coming from a Power 5 league. But I like the head-to-head thing, right? How it matters, Oklahoma State and Baylor. I like how it matters with Wisconsin and Iowa. I just like how it matters. I like how think of Mississippi State and Kentucky, right? It mattered, the head-to-head. How about Mike Leach? And I can't believe it after you watched them earlier in the season. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm just, who it did matter with, though? Penn State. I mean, this is back end stuff, and it's for the Big Ten, but Penn State was out.
Yeah.
They're in the AP poll. They're out of this, and Wisconsin is in. Penn State beat Wisconsin head-to-head in week 1 at Madison this year. So there's one exception to the head-to-head.
Well, and Michael said it before we came on the air, right? Bama A&M. That's also an exception. But with that said, what I, to your point of Penn State, to kind of Penn State and Fresno State flopping, I get the Wisconsin too. I think that's great for Oregon. So if you're a
Yes.
Duck fan, listen to this. This is what I've written down that you want. Guys, tack on things that I may miss. We want Oklahoma to lose because an undefeated Oklahoma is getting in the playoff, in my opinion. They haven't performed great in the playoff, but I would imagine if they can beat an OK State twice or whomever they would play in their title game, they'll have a chance to get in. I think you want Ohio State to continue to win because someone from the Big Ten is getting in. It might as well be, or at least all the way to the title game, a team that you beat. Michigan State and Ohio State play in a couple weeks, and of course the Michigan game. You want Fresno State and San Diego State to keep winning. That's only going to help you because Oregon's going to play Utah likely twice in 3 weeks, which is crazy, right? If you think about that. You want Utah to ball out. We'll get to them here in a minute. We want Oregon State to play well, and you want Washington State to continue to play well. Those are all the teams that you face because you're not going to have a ranked opponent. I think Utah, I'm going to guess here, they were 26 through 30. They had to be because I know as we present, like the context of Utah, if you look at how these other teams were ranked at the bottom in the bottom 5, like Pitt Panthers. I love Pitt. We just got rolled by Miami, who has 3 or 4 wins this year, right? So I would imagine Utah's in the dialogue somewhere. They need to go win, and that's going to have to be some of the narrative because that's how it's going to continue to grow. But overall, Oregon's in a really healthy spot if they continue to play. As they get healthier and get Alex Forsythe back, we anticipate this weekend they're starting all-conference center. They've got Mace Tuna back, their linebacker. They're going to be in great position to make the playoffs.